Running your mouth about Alabama football prior to a season starting is never a good idea. But one SEC quarterback got it right. Stick around. Let's talk about it. This is Way Offsides. 3, 2, let's go. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever the case may be. Welcome to your favorite Alabama sports talk on YouTube. That's Way Offsides with 4 A's, not 3, not 5, always 4, just like in the word Alabama. Go ahead and do yourself a favor. It'll be the most important thing you ever do the rest of the year. Subscribe, hit the notification bell. A lot of recruiting news coming up. I just got word that Malachi Lee, offensive lineman that Alabama was after, is now predicted to land with Michigan football. For those of you who like to keep track of that kind of stuff, we've got all the juicy nuggets for you. So be sure you're subscribed. If you're not, I don't know what to tell you. You're just not cool. You're just not that cool. Just kidding. Don't subscribe. Actually, screw that. Subscribe. Do the thing. Let's talk about Alabama football going into 2025. You guys are used to me doing recruiting videos. I'm going to get away from that a little bit today and talk a little bit about this 2025 season. Yes, I am lower on the screen. And yes, my chair did break prior to starting this video, but that's okay. We're going to muscle our way through it because I'm here to bring you content. And it's June. It's the end of June. The dead period's coming up in recruiting. Yes, there's a lot of commitments coming, but there's not a lot to talk about. SEC Media Days is on the way. And with that comes a lot of sound bites and yapping, right? Well, as most of you know, the last weekend in August, Alabama will travel down to Tallahassee, Florida to take on the Florida State Seminoles and their new transfer quarterback, Tommy Castellanos. Castellanos, obviously, for those of you who followed, he transferred from Boston College where he was not great. In fact, we're going to look up his stats at Boston College while we're here, just because we're going to need those a little later, right? Anyhow, so Castellanos is pretty confident that Florida State is going to be a much improved team going into 2025, and I don't doubt him there. I don't doubt him on that for the simple fact that they can't be worse than they were in 2024. You win 2 games after pillaging Alabama's roster when Nick Saban retires. Roydell Williams, Earl Little, Malik Benson, a lot of guys that went down to Florida, to the ACC, maybe because they thought it'd be easier to win there. Who knows? But the junior quarterback out of Waycross, Georgia, at Boston College, doesn't seem that phased by this big time week 1 matchup against Alabama. So much so that he said basically, Nick Saban's not there to save the tide anymore. This ain't the same Alabama team. A lot of you have heard this. You've seen it in shorts. You've seen it all over social media. Well, let's look at Castellanos and see how he did in 2024. He threw for 1,366 yards, 18 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions with a QBR of 40, 112th in the nation. Wow. Wow. Yeah. So that's big words coming from somebody who put out shat numbers like that, right? Well, somebody who didn't put out shat numbers that has actually faced this Alabama team responded in a similar interview. And this is South Carolina quarterback, LaNorris Sellers, who a lot of you remember last year came very close to beating Alabama in Tuscaloosa. But Sellers had this to say about, in response to old Tommy's comments. He said, shoot, Alabama's still Alabama to me. They were good last year. They're going to be a good team. They're big, strong, and fast. That's how I remember watching them growing up. Now, Alabama fans took offense to Castellanos. Is it Llanos? I don't know. He's not that important to learn. They took offense to his comments, however. And I get it. We're a passionate bunch. And, but I feel like the last thing you want to do going into a season when you've come off of a horrible season, probably the worst one in your school's history, is give Alabama football bulletin board material. It seems these kids forgot that Alabama still returns one of the most talented rosters in the country, full of 4- and 5-star guys who could play basically anywhere they would like to. And then you look at what Alabama's defense turned into as the season progressed in 2024 and the expectations of that defense in 2025, an opposing quarterback, especially a week one opposing quarterback, mouthing off like that does not sit well. Now, Sellers, on the other hand, understands the SEC. He understands that it doesn't really matter how good a team is if you're playing anybody, especially on the road. The SEC, it happens. Parity is equalizing out, but Sellers also understands that he's got to play Alabama again in 2025, right? Alabama goes to was it Colombo to play the Gamecocks, and he understands that he's got to face them, right? Potentially could face them twice. If South Carolina's as good as everybody tells you, he could play them 3 times. I don't think that's going to happen, but just saying, he understands that no matter what, there has to be a respect for the brand. Now, Tommy went running off, his mouth, and a lot of folks took notice. Overton, a lot of guys on that defense took notice. Hell, there were recruits who were uncommitted that were taking notice and laughing at it. 5-star linebacker Xavier Griffith. Because it's just stupid to say, especially this close to the season. And this isn't the first time Florida State's come out and said something like this. They've had coaches come out and say similar things. And I understand that in a certain way, you have to kind of hype up your guys, right? You got to give them something to motivate them, because realistically, they probably know there's a shellacking coming. I don't care what time of day it is. I don't care how hot it is. I think Alabama is going to open the 2025 season and make a statement. Contrary to popular belief, I think they're going to make it on the ground as well. So Tommy, why give them any more heat? Why give them anything else? I could see it if you were a playoff team for sure last year. I could see it if you were a 6-6 team that made a bowl game last year. But if you were a 2-10 team, and Florida State is recruiting very well right now, but the guys they're recruiting right now aren't on the roster to help them when they play Alabama and Tallahassee. There's a difference between being competitive and being cocky, and the latter will get you embarrassed 9 out of 10 times, unless your name is Johnny Manziel. So, and he's not. We looked at his Boston College numbers last year, and they weren't great. Now he's opening against an SEC team, not just an SEC team, one of the better top tier SEC teams, and it's going to get really embarrassing for him. I think it's going to get embarrassing for him quick, and I have a serious feeling that Florida State may not make a bowl game again in 2025. What say you, Bama Nation? How'd the comments make you feel? Do you feel like it's just typical player jargon, or do you feel like it was unnecessary? Do you feel like bulletin board material is good? I personally feel like a team shouldn't need that all the time to kind of have that edge, but sometimes it's good to have it as well. And it's just, there seems to be like this ever since the playoff selection a couple of years ago when Jordan Travis got hurt. There seems to have been this animosity towards Alabama. When Florida State got left out, Bama goes and loses to Michigan. And then Nick Saban retires. Norvell and his crew head up to Tuscaloosa along with other guys like Lane Kiffin and just start poaching that roster. And then you go 2-10. I feel like if you're going to talk smack, at least have something to back it up with, And this isn't one of those things. I expect a complete train wreck in Tallahassee. I think it'll be close for a little while. We've talked about this. We did a video discussing this breakdown. I think Florida State's definitely going to be better than they were last year. Again, it can't get much worse. But I do feel strongly that Alabama, once they get their feet under them in that game, will control both lines on each side of the ball. They're going to run the ball effectively. They're going to get after Castellanos, and he's going to meet some guys face to face that are going to remember what he said. Now, maybe the kid's just trying to take a page out of Diego Pavia's book. Put your name out there, be seen, say something controversial. That shock journalism that you get from Paul Feinbaum. Say something controversial because it puts your name up on the marquee, right? Everybody sees it. Everybody hears you. And then you can build a brand off of that. Maybe that's what he's trying to do. But, I mean, at least Pavia beat Alabama last year. I don't have an explanation for it. It's stupid. And he's going to pay for it. It's a great way to get your knees broke. Anyway, thanks for sticking around. A lot of recruiting news coming up. We got some really cool live stuff coming down the pipeline. We got some more recruits that'll be on the show, working on some player interviews with you guys. We'll have Clint Lamb, Nick Kelly back soon. We're going to have Brody Schmoot on the show soon from Crimson Coverage. He just launched his own thing today. Which is not going to be confusing at all, Clint. I'm sorry if you're watching. Cover Crimson Cover. I don't have to write all this down. Anyway, thanks for hanging out with us. You guys are the best. Stay frosty, folks. It's crazy out there. Say your prayers, read your Bibles, wash your hands. Horns down, beat Auburn and LSU and Tennessee too, and Tommy Castellanos. Roll Tide.